Hey, my name is Marco. I'm a pro opera singer turned voice actor. I love talking about analyzing and discussing video game music from an emotional perspective. So I love hearing opera in my video games, and it really is not something you hear very often. So today I wanted to take a look at some opera scenes or songs that exist in video games, talk a little bit about what probably happened in those scenes, how accurate they are, and also how good the singing actually is. First up is Unbending Steel, Ravana's Phase 2 from Final Fantasy XIV. I've heard this before, but I've never really sat down and thought about the operatic connotations behind it. Forgot about that. Oh. So in reality, this is hardly opera singing. In fact, I wouldn't call it opera singing at all. First of all, there's no vibrato. Second of all, the tone is, if someone really sings like this is astounding. I mean, this is like incredibly low. It's very interesting because actually there are some modern operatic composers that are writing music that actually sounds worse than this. Like this is really good. You've got the clarion trumpets, the brass, the percussive movement, and also the melody itself is pretty impressive. It doesn't really move anywhere, but it does add such an amazing sense to Ravana's character as a deity or a being, a primal that just loves to fight and loves to get involved and be in the mix of it all, you know? Like you really hear that essence in there. So in terms of where I would put this on the operatic sliding scale, this is a 1 out of 10 in terms of being opera. But it's really impressive and fun. But yeah, definitely not opera, and I don't even think it's a trained singer per se. Next on the list is Final Fantasy VI, the opera house scene, and really this is the aria that Maria sings, but I want to listen to the original SNES version because I think it actually is more operatic than the original, but I'm going to compare and contrast both for you. Also, you're going to notice that a lot of the things that we're listening to tend to come from Japan, Korea, and China. There are some European options and I think one US option, but in general, I had a really hard time finding Western-based opera singing in music, and I don't know why that is. But anyway, let's listen to the original Maria's aria from Final Fantasy VI. I didn't realize that you're choosing the lyrics. She's a little flat. Oh my god, yeah, you choose the lyrics. A choose your own adventure opera? I did not know that. I've not gotten this far in Final Fantasy VI. Nice harp ostinato with the doubled strings and the horn. The counter melody and the horn there. Shall I do? I'm lost without you. It's so much like Lucia and Trovatore combined. Lucia di Lammermoor by Donizetti and Trovatore by Giuseppe Verdi. But in like a hyper-condensed version of it. Now it's the big climax, so the strings are doubling her in a higher pitch. Tossing the flowers. Tragedy. Everything in opera is way bigger than in real life. That horn is so nice. Shooting star. Uh-oh. Prince Rouse is looking for a dance partner. Leave the past behind. Our kingdom is adopting the spirit of the East. And then it ends, faded away. That's pretty operatic. She sounds like a real mezzo, especially right in here. The tone quality is pretty low. There's actually a bit of vibrato based on the way that the synthesizer is being played on the piano. The harp is super operatic. This would be like a celestial voice, but obviously she's looking out at her life and options. The fact that you can choose your own lyrics is something that's so cool and so unique to Final Fantasy VI and so unique to, I mean, I think this is the most legitimate operatic thing that exists in video games. Obviously, like, there are operatic pieces in other games, but certainly this is the most, like, interactive an opera is in a video game, which I find really, really interesting. This is a 10 out of 10 on the operatic score. This is actually a proper opera. In fact, you can check out a video right here dissecting and breaking down this entire sequence of Draco and Maria based on real life examples. 10 out of 10 for me. However, what isn't a 10 out of 10 is the remasters singing. Listen to this. But wait, you're saying, Marco, why would that be not operatic, you elitist bastard? And I'll explain why. There's no vibrato, the singing is airy, the voice is actually higher pitched, more like a soprano than a true mezzo, but there, more than anything, there's just no vibrato, and the tone is really flat and a bit white. There's no, you know, I'm beloved, I have found you. The point is that this is not operatic. Opera singing especially requires a very soft palate, lowered larynx, and this is very like, my beloved, I have found you. It's more in line with musical theater, and yeah, so, and also it's extremely syllabic, and opera singing tends to be really fluid. We're really thinking about legato, where each note is connected to itself while we have the air spinning, which causes vibrato and so on and so forth. So this is actually more like a 3 out of 10 when it comes to whether or not it's actually opera. Now the sequence is of course opera. Maybe I'll bump it up to a 5 just because the setting is super accurate. And if you look at an opera like Lucia di Lammermoor or Il Trovatore, there's literally a scene where she's singing in a castle about being in love, and in Lucia she literally sees the ghost of her beloved. It's all in here. It's really interesting. Next up is actually Eternal Sonata, a little game that a lot of people I don't think have played, but actually there is an opera sequence in this, and I would like to take a look at this with you because it's a game about Frédéric Chopin, the pianist, and there's an opera aria at the end of it. I like that the ghost of Chopin has such great drip. Do the kids still say drip? I find the ticking clock really effective as well as the silence. And I believe that Frédéric Chopin, I don't know if this is accurate, but I think his wife was a singer? Or someone he cared about deeply was a singer. I think it's interesting that Chopin, as he rises out of his own body, his soul, would decide that the first thing he would do is play the piano. It's actually a beautiful song, not really written in the Chopin style of writing. It's very modern piano sounding. She also, doesn't understand that Chopin is dead, so she decides to sing to his ailing body. It's definitely not Chopin piano. But this is a real aria. At least in its structure, not an actual opera, but... That's a really hard turn of phrase there with the text. This could be Chopin, but it's more like sort of a Rachmaninoff in a way. That's Beethoven. Oh, that's Rachmaninoff, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's actually really good opera singing. It's pretty clean, and that actually, even though the premise of the game is revolving around Frederick Chopin, Eternal Sonata, so on and so forth, it doesn't really sound like Chopin. It definitely veers towards like this like modern popization of Rachmaninoff. I would say that is pretty close to being a proper opera aria. That's something you would hear in an actual opera or a concert hall, like a performance. I'm not really necessarily a fan of the piano playing in there. It's interesting because it's actually like a new aged aria where it's actually like a completely real and brand new operatic piece that is being sung by an operatic soprano. So technically it's a modern composition of opera, but it certainly is a little bit away from the style of Chopin. So I actually would put that as an 8 out of 10 on the opera scale. Not because it's not a 10 out of 10, but just because, well, it isn't a 10 out of 10, but it's mostly just because of the piano. But maybe it's more like a 9. It's a 9, just because of my own personal preference. But yeah, opera, but not. Of course, we can't make an opera video without talking about the opera scene from Parasite Eve. And boy, is this one a fun one. Now, fun fact, you don't have to dress up at the opera. You can wear jeans and a t-shirt or even a shirt. Well, wear a shirt, but you know what I mean. There are opera houses that look like this. This round shape is more common in Europe. This would probably be something from the Baroque time period, or think an opera like Maria Stuarda by Donizetti. Rarely would they be singing in English. They'd be singing in Italian in this particular case, because this looks like an Italian opera style. But yes, the common trope is the lover wants to be with the woman and the king says no, and the king is usually a bass and this guy is usually a tenor. In this particular case, Mitochondria Eve would be a soprano. It's not far from being like a proper, like, true opera. But there has been no singing, so it's hard to really count as such. Oh, there it is. Now that's true opera sound. It's interesting how this and Final Fantasy VI have been more or less the most accurate to sort of the classic opera soundscape. She's singing a little bit too far to the front of the stage, though, and there are no lights at the bottom like that. Not really. Trigger warning for those of you that don't like seeing fire and immolation. This has never happened in an opera, as far as I know. The slow fall. Oh god. Honestly, I forgot how graphic this is. This and there's a couple scenes that are really intense in these games, both in theaters. I think the other one is in Parasite Eve too, where they all turn to goo. Is that an accurate representation? Well, besides the fire, I would say that yes, actually. That is very close. That's an easy 10 out of 10 on the operatic, is it real opera score. Aside from the premise of Parasite Eve, you know, and Mitochondria Eve and so on and so forth, with Melissa Pierce there, I do think that is actually pretty accurate to what a traditional operatic experience would be, minus the fire, of course, so that's like kind of weird to say, but you get what I mean. Something I've never seen before is the Tosca execution scene from Hitman Blood Money. So I actually sang Mario Cavaradossi, who is the lover of Tosca. And Tosca is one of my favorite operas. It was written by Giacomo Puccini, and it's a phenomenal work. It's a phenomenal first-time opera for anybody that's interested in opera in general. Yeah, I'm really excited to see this because I think you have to execute the contract as he's being executed. So in the final scene of Tosca, Mario Cavaradossi is led to his death. Tosca signs a paper with Scarpia that says that her lover, Mario Cavaradossi, will not be actually executed. It will be rubber bullets. That ends up being a lie, and Mario Cavaradossi is executed in front of her. And then Tosca, before all this, Tosca stabs him. She comes to find Mario Cavaradossi. She says, Mario, you know, I'm here, I love you. I killed Scarpia. Oh my God, your beautiful, soft little hands. Anyway, it's a long plot, but so I'm really curious about this. So this is backstage. So this is what it would look like, yeah. This is very similar. This takes place at the top of Castel Sant'Angelo, which was a prison for political prisoners, but other prisoners in Rome, and who's singing this? This is accurate. L'anima freme in celestial crescente ardor. That sounds like Salvatore. No, this is Marcello Alvarez. This is the final thing that Tosca and Cavaradossi sing together. Right before he's brought out to be executed. So actually this is all taking place a lot earlier than it does. The crew would be taking Cavaradossi, they would be picking him up and bringing him to the area where he's to be executed by firing squad much earlier. Much later, I should say. This is actually Tosca. Wow, I didn't realize they would do the actual opera. You would never point a rifle at the audience. He makes a joke to her. He says, I'll pretend to die like the Tosca in theater because she's an opera singer. And he goes like this, and she goes like this. Or, yeah. Now they would take him. This is she's sitting in the corner and she's like, oh my God, they're gonna take Mario, he's gonna be all right. Can't wait, stay there, keep doing such a great job acting, so on and so forth. He would be walking to the place where he's being executed here. She's saying it's so long to wait for this to be done. I can't believe it's actually Tosca. That's so accurate. So now, so you hear how the music is increasing in size and volume? Sham, para, bum, bum. This is when they start to take the shot. Yeah. Here it comes. There's gonna be a big tremolo here. Right here. Right here. Right there. Okay, so in the game... So in the game, he actually gets shot and that... Oh. Ah, so that was a practice scene. They said, do we have to reprise again? Do we have to practice again? Okay, here it is from another angle. He takes the shot. Oh! That is so cool. I mean, that's not accurate, but that's such an interesting way to do that. Because they're waiting for him to get up. Wow, dude, that's some great acting. I almost believe I really shot you. Okay, you can get up
Monsieur
now.
Dalvad, vous pouvez vous relever maintenant?
Il ne bouge plus.
Monsieur Dalvad, tout va bien?
Il y a du sang.
Oh my god. So is that accurate? I mean, I hope not. It is a fear that can arise when you're singing something like this and you have to be shot on stage. I mean, it's not really a fear, but you're like having guns pointed at you, and what they do is they shoot blanks. So they don't actually, nothing comes out. It's pretty safe and controlled, and there's a gun master and a weapons master on the stage who's sort of facilitating that, and they practice and rehearse before the performance. So while it certainly is a little bit scary to have guns pointed at you and have them shoot, and it's loud and you have to slump down, it certainly doesn't feel like that. That's awesome. So I mean, honestly, in terms of like the accuracy of including real opera, that to me was a 10 out of 10. I mean, it's described, which feels weird to say because there's not a lot of stuff happening in there that's accurate to real life, but I thought that was really interesting. That's easily a 10 out of 10 in terms of using the real score. Great job on using the actual score for Tosca. That's like kind of an educational moment too, which is really cool. Next up is, well, you'll know it when you hear it.
Uh-oh.
Not the corn. The corn.
Me, 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 me.
We do warm up with me-me-me's.
I am the great mighty
We
fool.
do roll our R's
I'm
in,
going to throw
in traditional
my
English
shit
singing.
at you. A huge supply of tish comes from my chocolate starfish. How about some scat, you little twat? Do you really think you'll survive in here? You don't seem to know which creek you're in.
Shit's Creek.
Sweet corn is the only thing that makes it through my rear. How do you think I keep this lovely grin? Now I'm really getting rather mad. You're like a niggly, tickly, shitty little tag nut. When I've knocked you out with all my bab, I'm going to take your head and ram it up my butt.
Your butt.
My butt.
Your butt.
That's right, my butt.
Ugh.
My butt. My butt.
We don't crack glass. It's certainly not a male singer. Now, the stereotype is that if a pitch is high enough, then there is the potential to break glass. And as far as I know, that has been, I think, disproven. But in general, we don't sing at the frequency high enough that is the same frequency as the glass in order to break it. So first of all. Second of all, some things that were actually pretty accurate. Obviously, I am not a giant piece of shit. You may think that, but really, I try to be quite nice. In general, opera singers are quite nice, and they're all just trying to do their job, go home, maybe make someone feel something in the audience, and really, like, get their paycheck, do their job, and go home. In terms of the diction, that's actually accurate. You tend to roll your R's and stuff. Certainly we do this in Italian singing because it does help lines, especially if we're like going from a lower note to a higher note. Sometimes you have to roll your R to get to the top. In general, rolling your R's and stuff like this is pretty commonplace, especially in English art song, or if we're thinking like things like William Byrd and You Cursed Squirrel. That would happen for sure. In terms of the singing, it's certainly not operatic, but it's a close mockery of it. And rhythmically as well, and musically, it actually is pretty Mozartian, I guess. So I would put that actually like a 6 out of 10 on the Is This Really Opera scale, which is kind of funny. I never thought that I would say that. Babylon's Fall didn't really get a lot of play. In fact, it basically was dead on arrival. However, what isn't dead on arrival is this astounding soundtrack. Listen to this. So good. Oh. Da da da. That's like a 15 out of 10 on the is this opera scale. Now this would be more towards something like an oratorio, which is a liturgical piece based on the life and times of Jesus Christ and things like that, or a Verdi Requiem or a Carmina Burana. You know, a piece where you would have the choir in the background, the orchestra would be on stage, and then you have the four soloists up front. However, you could extract this, and it could even be like an opera final act 1, a finale of Act 1 or a finale of Act 2. It's incredibly well written. It's incredibly operatic. It is deeply slept on, and it is easily one of the best operatic pieces, or the entire soundtrack in the operatic repertoire, and it's not in the operatic repertoire, and it's certainly one of the neatest and coolest and most interesting classically based video game music soundtracks I have heard ever. It's exceptional. There's going to be a part 2 of this because there's still some more stuff to get through, and I'm discovering more and more as we go. As always, thanks a ton, and hey, if you like this, feel free to like, subscribe, and support the channel, and I'll talk to you later.